I was in New York and I read My Left Foot Again. And I said, well, have a go at this.
I remember Jim Sheridan, the director and my fellow writer on it, we always said from the start that we wanted to get the spirit of the man, because he had a fantastic spirit which somehow soared above the mundane facts of his life. And the challenge of getting that spirit was the big thing.
His mother in particular was so fantastic that he was reared at home with the other 12 or 13 brothers and sisters, and the love that they gave him kept him going. I think that's universal.
The role of family is, I think that's a traditional theme in Jim Sheridan's work, particularly the focus on the father and the son. Though in My Left Foot, there's probably even more emphasis on the relationship between the mother and the son. But in terms of Irish filmmaking, that role of the family is a common trope that crops up now and again.
This whole project was very lucky, because I was in Dublin one evening. It was during the Dublin Theatre Festival, and I was an actor, and I decided to go to a pub where actors hung out. I'm not a big drinker, but I decided to go in and see some of my friends in there. And just as I opened the door and came in, Noel Pearson was in there with an actor, and he had just said to this actor, I'm thinking of doing a film about Christy Brown. Do you know anybody who would write the script? And Alan Devlin, who was the actor, pointed and said, there's a fella there, Shane Connaughton, he'll write the script. And Noel Pearson turned round, we'd never met before, and Alan introduced us, and that's how I got it. It was sheer luck. The casting is the most important thing. The casting was crucial.
We didn't choose Daniel Day-Lewis. It was a complete fluke. He had made a film called Stars and Bars, and Elmer Bernstein did the music, the original score. And I was a friend of Elmer Bernstein for years and years and years. And we threw a party for Elmer, and I told Daniel Day-Lewis the story of Christy Brown, and he didn't say anything. So I sent him the script, and he called me up 2 days later, and he says, after about 10 pages of this script, I turned to the front. I said, I'd heard this story before, but I was so drunk I couldn't remember. Then he saw my name and he called me up and he says, do you know that when you were telling me that story on the floor the other night, he says, I kept saying to myself, when is this geezer going to offer me the job?
Well, he's a very serious actor. He takes his work very seriously. He works so hard, investing the character with everything that he can give it, and very, very impressive to see him work.
Daniel Day-Lewis decided from day one that it was going to be an absolute correct portrayal of somebody with cerebral palsy. So he went to the clinic every day, every morning for 6 weeks. He also hired a disabled painter to teach him how to paint, to hold a brush. He kind of rehearsed the typing with his toe.
Even if he went to get food in the canteen, he'd still be in character. He'd still be sitting in a wheelchair or have to be helped or carried.
He broke 2 ribs during the shoot, as far as I remember, just from being crunched up all the time. But he never complained.
He had a wonderful agent who was very far back, very British, and he came to visit him on the set to have lunch. And Daniel wouldn't come out of character. And he kept asking him to give him some food in his mouth. And the guy said, is this a bloody joke or something? He says, I'm off.
I love you, Eileen.
And I love you, Christy.
No, I really love you.
This performance of Daniel Day-Lewis really puts him on the map as, or cements his reputation as one of the premier actors working in global cinema.
Hugh O'Connor as the young Christy and Daniel as the older Christy. They are remarkably similar. You can believe that Daniel is the older Hugh. He was just one of dozens of kids who auditioned for the part. And again, casting being so crucial, Jim made a hugely wise decision there. He was wonderful, that boy, playing the young Christy Brown. It was just another lucky thing. You have to have luck and intuition on your side casting. If you haven't got the right cast, you're in deep trouble.
Total luck. First of all, there was no rehearsal with the two of them together. Hugh O'Connor was in Canada with his father. up to a week before we shot, you know. And it was just, Hugh O'Connor is a very clever lad, you know. And it was just one of these, sometimes you need luck, and this was a great piece of luck that the two of them worked out. You know?
I remember reading the script and thinking it was great, and I read the book. I didn't think I was going to get the job, but I really wanted to go in for it. I think I even remember then thinking it was important in some way, but I really didn't think I was going to get it. And I think we went through a few audition period, and we had to go to a screen test. I think myself and Daniel both had to do a screen test, although I'm sure he probably was only there to make me feel better or something.
It premiered in Dublin in March '89, yeah. And it was a huge event in Dublin because the whole idea of us making the film was to get it on in the local cinema. We never had any expectation to go beyond that.
Harvey Weinstein of Miramax was there that night, and he said at the end, when we had that packed audience had watched the film, I remember him distinctly standing there and saying, "Come the Oscar, we'll be there, and this film will be there." And I thought that was just empty showmanship, but my goodness, he was right.
It was a great experience, but it hadn't been life-changing for people until Harvey Weinstein decided that he was going to, you know, pick it up for American distribution, and he just made the most amazing things happen.
And it was very exciting. It was just like meeting a new girl in town. Really, the newness of that film, it was just great because it was just a way of looking at life and looking at reality that you hadn't run into before. And it was just very, very captivating.
Don't be frightened, Christy. It's only your brother. Come. This way, Christy. This way. This way.
The role of the critic in the success of a film like My Left Foot ends up being in establishing that word of mouth, establishing what to look for, especially if there's aspects of a film that might be difficult to ascertain by a cinema-going audience that is not familiar with that cultural specificity that is such a big part of the film.
It was one of these films that the gossip around Cannes, that's what made the film.
The critics loved it, and the audiences loved it. It became a huge success. It was really heartwarming. Everybody's dream had come true. Because to take the risk of making a film about a cripple, everybody said, you can't make a film about a cripple.
People were gobsmacked at a film about a guy in a wheelchair who couldn't speak. Everybody was amazed. So were we.
It's a remarkable film about a story of achievement, with this fascinating character of Christy Brown, who's likes to get drunk. He likes his brothers to wreck the pub. He's got all these really charming, and at the same time, there's this sort of dark element that's running through the entire film, which really lends it, I think, its power.
The film got so many awards. The main ones being the Oscars. Well, it was incredible. Daniel was Best Actor, Brenda Best Supporting Actress. It was incredible. To be nominated, Jim Best Director, myself and Jim Best Script, it was just huge.
That year, the 4th of July was going to scoop, everybody said it was going to scoop everything. It was Tom Cruise's big picture with Oliver Stone. So we were just happy enough to be, and we went to the Oscars for the laugh.
I was so happy. I was the happiest person in the world that for 2 seconds at least.
Well, I think that had a much bigger effect on the Irish film industry because it was the first locally based made film, Irish story, Irish actors, Irish director, Irish producer, all of that. And that kind of, in a way, made people aware of this country as a place of filmmaking.
The lasting legacy of My Left Foot is really in raising awareness on a global stage about Irish filmmaking, or the recognition that there's something very powerful there in these stories and these filmmakers.
The film has a life of its own, and it's very important. It grabs you. And there are things about My Left Foot that are unforgettable. The images stay with you all your life.
People have been very inspired by the film. I think a lot of people, many people we spoke to for years since the film opened as well, people have said that's a great film. It taught me something. Never give up. Because nobody could have more going against them than Christy Brown. And yet he ends up a famous writer. And he ends up with a film being made about his life. So it's a lesson for us all.
Let's drink to Dublin.
The Dublin?
Yeah, because Christy Brown was born there.